Our story begins in Vienna, 1846, at the first obstetrical clinic of the Grand General Hospital, a place where nearly 10% of all mothers who gave birth succumbed to fever. The clinic's reputation was so grim that women began choosing to give birth on the streets. But how were the filthy streets of 19th century Vienna safer than one of Europe's largest hospitals? Hungarian physician and hospital assistant Ignaz Semmelweis was puzzled. He couldn't understand why his clinic in particular was so much worse when compared to other clinics nearby. About a year later, while on a trip to Venice in 1847, Ignaz received news that a close friend of his, Jacob Koleschka, had died after being mistakenly cut by a student's scalpel during an autopsy class. But Jacob's death was not in vain. Semmelweis had noticed something. He wrote in his journal, "I was still animated by the art treasures of Venice, but the news of Koleschka's death agitated me still more. In this excited condition, I could see clearly that the disease from which Koleschka died was identical to that from which many hundred maternity patients had also died." Semmelweis introduced a new policy. Students and staff working on autopsies were to wash their hands with a solution of chlorinated lime. This eliminated the putrid smell of autopsy tissue. The mortality rate at the first clinic plummeted from 18.3% in April to 2.2% in June. But before Semmelweis could truly celebrate his triumph, the 1848 revolutions of Europe reached Hungary, igniting war with the Austrian Empire. Semmelweis' superior, Professor Johann Klein, an Austrian loyalist, replaced Semmelweis with Austrian physician Karl Braun. Semmelweis pleaded for reinstatement. After 18 long months, he was finally allowed to teach again, but restricted only to leather models. In October 1850, without a word, Semmelweis left Vienna for Budapest. Now in Hungary, Semmelweis took an unpaid position at the Szent Rókus Hospital, where childbed fever was rampant. He quickly eliminated the disease, but his methods were dismissed. Ede Florian Burley, the University of Pest's obstetrics professor, clung to old beliefs. After Burley died, Semmelweis was appointed in 1855. He instituted chlorine washings at the University of Pest Maternity Clinic. Once again, the results were striking. In 1861, Semmelweis published his work in a book called Etiology, Concept and Prophylaxis of Childbed Fever, but the medical community scoffed. He lacked a scientific explanation for his success, and many were offended by the implication that their unwashed hands were killing patients. Scientists from across Europe challenged Semmelweis. Rudolf Virchow, the father of modern pathology, rejected Semmelweis' doctrine of cadaverous particles. August Breisky from Prague labeled Semmelweis' work as naive. Karl Edvard Marius from Copenhagen criticized the unspecified nature of Semmelweis' particles. By 1865, Semmelweis had received several berating reviews of his work. This caused something in him to change. He lashed out, writing open letters to obstetricians across Europe, calling them murderers. He distanced himself from family, began to drink, and grew increasingly troubled. Some said it was Alzheimer's, or dementia, or maybe syphilis from examining thousands of women at gratis institutions, or perhaps heartbreak. On the 30th of July, Semmelweis was contacted by longtime friend and physician Ferdinand Ritter von Hebra to visit a new medical facility in Vienna. Semmelweis agreed. Upon arrival, he was lured into an Austrian insane asylum, beaten, secured in a straitjacket, and confined into a dark cell. Only 2 weeks thereafter, within the care of the asylum, Semmelweis developed an infection on his wounds and died. He was buried in Vienna. Almost no one attended his funeral. His position at the university was replaced, where mortality rates quickly increased sixfold. But the physicians of Budapest had nothing to say. So was the life of the savior of mothers, Ignaz Philipp Semmelweis.